When a loved one dies, families are suddenly having to answer a lot of questions, make decisions, find documents, and just all do all this while they're grieving. And in this episode of Caregiver Coffee Conversations, we'll be talking about some of the tasks that do need to happen after someone dies. So I hope this is a helpful video. I hope to do it with some calmness and some compassion. I have not been in a place of responsibility yet while a loved one has died. So a lot of this is just research, and I'll tell you about the sources so you can go to them if you're interested in learning more. But I just wanted to be upfront about that. I've not had to, make these decisions when a loved one, like a parent or a spouse, has died. But I can only imagine how difficult it can be. And what I'm hoping is that this video will show you at least two things that maybe you were not aware of before so that they don't sneak up on you. That's really the goal, is to provide some information so you can take action and do some more research, and maybe even make some decisions right now with your loved one before it's actually needed. So my name is Matthew Estrad. I am a gerontologist in St. Tammany Parish, and I've been partnering with the Council on Aging in St. Tammany for over 5 years, actually over 11 years as a caregiver support group facilitator, but over 5 years as someone bringing you education here online on Facebook and YouTube. So before we get started, I'm not going to give my full spiel, but as the caregiver support group facilitator, we meet 4 to 5 times a month, typically on every Tuesday evening from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Sometimes we're in person, sometimes we're online. We do not have a hybrid where we're meeting in person and online at the same time. So it's either or, but we like that because it gives flexibility to caregivers who want to get out of the house, must get out of the house, and also help serve those caregivers who are not able to leave their house because they can't leave their loved ones. So we've been doing this for a long time. We have a great group. I welcome you to come check us out, whether it's online or in person. There's no reservation needed. There's no commitment. You can just stop by. You can try it out, not return. But if you like it, of course, return. And if you don't end up, staying with our support group, I hope that you will find one in the area or one online, and I can certainly help you do that as well. If you want more information, go over to coastseniors.org, navigate over to the caregiver resources, and there you'll find a flyer that we publish every 2 months with the exact dates and all that. And if you'll want to get on the free private email list so you can get reminders, and so that if you want to join us on Zoom, that you can receive the link via email. So consider that. All right, on to this really important topic. This video draws upon guidance from the Social Security Administration, Social Security Administration, regarding survivor benefits and reporting a death. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, their rules for Medicare termination and billing, and the National Funeral Directors Association recommendations for obtaining death certificates and coordinating with funeral homes. Additional evidence comes from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, document Managing Someone Else's Money series, and the Federal Trade Commission funeral rule, and the Administration for Community Living resources on end-of-life planning and legal documentation. And I'll have that, all those organizations, I'll have that in the description of the video on YouTube, so you can go Google and find out more information from those, possibly print out some things to check off. So what should you expect in the first 48 hours? So when your loved one dies, a doctor, hospice nurse, or a hospital legally pronounces the death. The funeral home is contacted to transfer the body. Families will choose burial, cremation, or donation, and the funeral home begins the paperwork. You'll be asked how many death certificates you need and many other things. Now, of course, you may already know how what will happen with the body in a dignified way, whether there's going to be a burial, a cremation, or a donation. And that and a lot of things in this video, I'm hoping that you've had or will have the conversation. So these are not things that need to be guessed after, because that puts a lot of stress on those who are the caregivers, or those who do not pass away, who are now responsible for this very important and dignified final act of someone's life. So hopefully some conversations will happen if in your families, if they've not already. All right, so let's start with death certificates. What are they? These are official documents, official state documents proving that the person has died. You'll want to order 8 to 12 of them. And these are certified copies. They're typically not free, and this depends on what state you're in and where you're getting them from. Our research tells us they're between $8 and $25 per certified copy. And remember, you need 8 to 12. So, do the math, it's going to add up. Funeral homes often collect the fee, and additional copies can be ordered later. But what I've heard from those who have lost loved ones, that 8 to 12 is a good range to think about. So where will you use these certified death certificates? At banks, with insurance companies, pensions, Social Security, Medicare, credit cards, vehicle titles, property deeds, account closures, you name it, there could be a need for that. So that's why they're, up to a dozen are generally thought about as a prudent idea. Who provides them? It could be a funeral home, it could be a parish coordinator or church coordinator, it could be the state vital records. This is a key document that will unlock or keep locked other steps that you need to take care of. Let's talk about the Social Security Administration. What are things that you must do? So the funeral home usually notifies the Social Security Administration, but you want to confirm that. Many times or this might actually be federal law since we were drawing from federal sources. There's a 255 lump sum benefit that may apply. Survivor benefits may be available, and payments stop the month after death. Any payments received after death must be returned, and yes, they will ask for them, they will go after them. Let's shift to Medicare, Medicaid, and state insurance, or just insurance in general. Medicare ends at the month of death. You will need to return Medicare equipment if required, if you had any. Medicaid estate recovery may apply. So we've not done videos on that, but it is verified, at least here in Louisiana, that the state has a right to go to the estate to recover Medicaid funds that were used for care. It doesn't always happen, but it can happen, and that should be something to consider when applying for Medicaid. Private insurance companies typically need a death certificate. Shifting to financial accounts, bills, and property. Bank accounts, joint accounts remain accessible. Individual accounts, however, may freeze. So this might be something to think about in the future, turning those individual accounts into joint accounts so they are not frozen afterwards. With credit cards, open revolving credit, things like that. They don't normally close after death. You actually have to do that. You have to close them. Mortgage, car loans, medical bills, those will need to be notified. If there's property vehicle storage units, you may need those death certificates to gain access to things or to do other types of business. Don't forget subscriptions, streaming services, and memberships into social organizations and things that may be like on an auto draft, even once a month, once a year, things like that. Remember those. There could be costs that you're not thinking about that should be discussed, or at least if not money set aside, then at least don't be shocked when you have some of these costs, such as safety, deposit box access fees, probate filing fees, car, car, car title transfer fees, property insurance changes, fees, final utility bills with fees, obituary fees, cemetery opening and closing fees. So I know that at least I think it's St. Louis number 3 in New Orleans, like to open up, um, open close to have a funeral. I want to say it's $1,200. So your family could own a crypt or a tomb, but then there's still going to be it's still not free to have the funeral to open and close, etc. Uh, think about clergy and musician stipends. Think about medical equipment return fees, Social Security overpayment recovery, um, flowers. They mentioned music, mentioned clergy having masses said. If you want, of course, people do that to be generous. They'll have masses said, but you may want to set some funding aside for that as well, if that is your if you discern that. Then there are let's talk about the parish or the church or a synagogue or whatever faith organization that you're a part of. You'll have to schedule a service. So it's good to know even ahead of time how much notice do they need, and who do you talk to, and what are sort of the guidelines and rules and restrictions and whatnot for having a mass or having a ceremony at another venue, etc. Um, think about the readings, the music, the burial coordination, obituary assistance, filing the death certificate, cremation or other burial arrangements. And a lot of these, actually, I think all of these that I just mentioned recently, these are things that can be discussed before, and you may even be inclined to have a hand in that and what music is played, what hymns, what readings, etc. Who celebrates that mass, or that what is that, what happens after the funeral? Is there going to be a celebration with food and things like that, of course, at a hall or another venue or restaurant? Emotional and practical support. Think about a bereavement, attending a bereavement group. This can be at churches, at parishes, at synagogues, hospice grief counseling. If your loved one was in hospice, I believe that they are required to offer at least 12 months of bereavement counseling, like in a group setting, and continued spiritual care for the family and the caregivers. Think about support groups, meal trains where others are pitching in and dropping off casseroles and dishes, for a short time after, so the family can kind of get their feet underneath and just kind of to give them time to grieve and not have to worry about shopping and cooking and things like that. Think about asking for help with some of the paperwork. You want to have good sibling communication, especially during a very difficult time. This could be, things that were challenging might be even more challenging with the emotions of loss and things like that. So consider that. So, certainly this is not everything. And because I just did the research and I've not gone through this, I've experienced, of course, loved ones dying, but not where I was in a position of responsibility and having to manage things, or, even look at these items. But I've certainly been to many funerals and funeral masses and burials, so I can understand how there are a lot of moving parts to this. And these are things that um, if you are able to help with these decisions for your own death, or work with your loved one in a very sensitive way, giving them choice, giving them the options and letting them choose and let it be about their dignity. It can be really, it can make it an even more special um, transition and ceremony and mass, and it can be less stressful as well when these decisions are made, the financial decisions, the coordination, and all the other things we talked about. So I hope this was helpful. If you have some experience and you have some ideas, please put them in the comments. I would love to read them. I think others watching this video would appreciate your wisdom in this, so it can help other people in the future. So thanks for watching. Thanks in advance for any comments that you leave, and thank you for supporting the Council on Aging in St. Tammany. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.